This right here is a 1/500 scale Cathay Pacific Boeing 777-300 by Herpa. So far I had only shown you the -200s, but this is the extended variant. It's actually one of the slightly rarer OG Herpas, especially compared to the Cathay Pacific 777-200s. The easiest way to recognize a 777-300 is by the 5 doors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The far more common and, dare I say, standard version, the 777-200, only has 4 doors and no overwing exits. The difference between the 777-300 and the 777-300ER is that most 777-300s in service today are the latter, the extended range variant, which means they are equipped with the massive GE90 engines that have roughly the same diameter as the entire cross-section of a 737's fuselage. The more elusive 777-300, on the other hand, used to have smaller Trent 892 engines, which this model has. Now, Herpa re-released this plane in 2004 with scale-accurate landing gear, but it's a lot harder to find for a good price than this older variant from 1999, which, except for the OG landing gear and the lack of cockpit window frames, is the same model. Now, most of these re-releases were exclusive to the in-flight shop of Cathay Pacific called Sea Excitement, so they didn't come with the Herpa box, but with the Sea Excitement box, and were basically passed on from people who had initially bought the models from the onboard service, or perhaps from a Cathay Pacific duty-free shop in Hong Kong Airport, and therefore still have a bit of a premium price tag associated with them. Anyhow, I managed to find this older version without box, but with stand, for €11. But I ended up getting it for free, because upon arriving, I found out this model had some paint bubbles on the starboard side the seller hadn't shown properly on the product photos, and which I will show you later. So that was really nice of him. As for the livery, it was adopted in 1994 and lasted until 2015. So we'll start our review of the plane by taking a look at the L1 door. And you can see that right next to the door we have the Cathay Pacific logo, which I will get to in a second. The door itself has a little handle. I think you can see that right there. And a porthole as well. We've got the Cathay Pacific writing next to it. And here we have the L2 door, and then the L3 overwing exit, the L4 door, and back here we have the L5 door, and in front of it we have the Swire Group logo. The plane also comes with the registration, Brava Hotel November Echo, and here is the vertical stabilizer. The Cathay Pacific logo is also known as the brush wing, a calligraphic stroke in the shape of a bird's wing. Let's take a look at the horizontal stabilizers. You can see that they have the elevators carved into them. And now if we take a look at the wings of the plane. Now here's what's interesting. This model originally did not have any emergency exit markings printed onto these, basically just bare metal wings. So what I did was I made them myself. I looked up pictures of them on Google and then printed them out on a sheet of A4 paper, with the length of the marking being 1.3 centimeter or 0.51 inches, and the width adjusted accordingly. And then cut them out and then just stuck them on the wings using some paper glue, and I mean, it's better than nothing. What's still missing are the 2 black lines that are supposed to tell where the main landing gear is located underneath the wing. So here's a look at the engines. As mentioned earlier, these are Rolls-Royce Trent 892s, and the fan blades are visible. You've got the silver engine cowling, but otherwise the engine nacelles are pretty basic in terms of detailing. Doesn't look too bad though. So here at the front you can see the fuselage bubbling on the starboard side of the aircraft, and this looks pretty bad, so that's the reason why I basically had to tell the seller that he hadn't provided good enough photos, and he gave this model to me for free because of it. So, nice of him. Taking a look at the front of the aircraft, you can see that the cockpit windows are pretty basic. I mean, they don't have any wipers in front of them, and there's no silver cockpit window frames, but at least they did get the shape right, so it doesn't look too bad. Here's a look at the other side of the aircraft, and you can see that this is an OG Herpa model in the sense that it doesn't even have any cargo doors, unfortunately. And of course, the landing gear is big and clunky. However, what I like is that the back of the engines does have some pretty nice detail. I mean, this isn't as basic as you'd think it would be. Now, I did paint the aft section behind the horizontal stabilizers to get rid of that metal insert there. So I painted this part in white so that it would blend in a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, other than that, this is basically what you used to get back in the late 90s in terms of airplane models in 1/500 scale. Let's take a look at the bottom. You can see that it does come with a hole for the stand, so that's nice. And it says Herpa in the middle, or Herpa wings. And then we have this really interesting riveting going on the wings. Let's see if I can focus this a little more. Yeah, right there. Not sure if it's supposed to be like that on the bottom of a 777. So, it's interesting. Trailing edge fairings are done pretty well. And that's about it. And here's what the model looks like when it's mounted on the plastic stand that it comes with. It gives it a slightly tilted, flying, aerodynamic look, which I like. The one thing that is weird is that on the base of the stand, there was no branding on my particular model. So, some others have had Cathay Pacific written here, but anyway. Overall, I still like the fact that I can display this model, for example, on a table, and it'll look cool. Now, for comparison, I have the 777-300 here right next to a beautiful new generation Austrian Airlines 777-200, which will be the subject of another day's review. But you can just see how the length difference looks like between the two planes. The 777-200 is already a huge plane, but the Dash 300 extension essentially makes it be able to carry almost as many passengers as a 747-400, but with only 2 engines. So maybe that's the reason why they're so popular. So I hope you guys liked my review of the 1/500 scale Boeing 777-300 in the old Cathay Pacific livery. I think this is definitely a cool vintage plane, and if you're interested in more Boeing 777 reviews, be sure to check them out over here. And as always, take care, have a wonderful day, and this is Imperial Diecast, signing out.